Hello. We're looking at something a little different today. Someone commented they were interested in me looking at the super weak legendary upgrade for the Golden Lion. And here we are. And now, I've got to preface this by saying, first of all, you know, the ship has a lot of downsides as a boat, okay? Um, you don't have a lot of HP. Your armor's pretty decent, but you get overmatched in a lot of spots. 25 nose with an icebreaker, 40 upper belt, but a really big 32 side torp plating. Not a good deck. You eat 60-second fires. Um, to combat this, you do have a fast cooldown heal, 40 seconds, which is really nice, but you can only get up to 4. So in the tanking department, Golden Lion does not like blow up to overmatch one shot like a Des Moines can, but it's definitely not. I wouldn't really describe it as tanky. It's very tanky against like low caliber AP that you can angle into, but high caliber AP and almost all HE. That's any HE that pens 30, 32 kind of shits on you, and you take fires. But anyway, the ledge mod for this ship is in slot 6, which Wargaming, I've noticed, has a habit of doing this. Um, I feel like they used to put upgrades in the slot that made it the more painful, right? Like, and over time, like the daring upgrade, you have to give up concealment. Yu Yang upgrade, you have to give up concealment. Z upgrade, give up concealment. And concealment's really important on those kind of boats, right? Um, and like Montana, you give up concealment for a good one, and there's a lot of that. Um, Kaba, you don't give up concealment because you don't take it anyway, but you give up rudder. And we're gonna start using the ledge mod here and kind of get back to this point over time. But as you can see, you have a 51-second reload on these, and you can store 3. And what I'm gonna do on this Des Moines is I'm gonna stagger them by about 10 seconds each. And that way, if at any point he decides to damage con, he's going to get set. So he damage con the double fire, or the fire. He then got hit by another strike for a fire. And he got hit by another for a double fire. So he's on a triple permafire. 25k, just pure alpha with the Baichi bomb pen. And this is like a hilarious tragedy of the state of cruisers in World of Warships in 2024. Is what does Golden Lion shit on the hardest? Is it battleships? Well, you do really good against like the French and British battleships that you pen everywhere, but they have fire prevention, they have fire skills, they have a long damage con, a longer heal, better heal. No, what you really shit on in the Golden Lion more than anything is people trying to play the game. I mean, look at so blind fire on a destroyer, like what was that, 10,000 damage? I mean, it's fucking disgusting. If you know how to aim these airstrikes, they're disgusting. There's like almost no counterplay. If you're in a destroyer, they're somewhat dodgeable, or like a really fast maneuverable cruiser, somewhat dodgeable. But even in fast battleships, like a properly aimed airstrike is not completely dodgeable. You might dodge like half of it, but it's about the best you're gonna do. But yeah, if you notice, we have 2 main battery shell hits on the Gdansk. So we have done about 43,000 damage with airstrikes. I think that's the 4th one we've dropped. And we can just park here. Our ship is at 0 risk. Our ship is at 0 risk of any kind. And basically in Golden Lion, you're almost guaranteed a fire with a decent airstrike. It's not 100% guaranteed, but I'd say it's 90% guaranteed. There's a double fire. This guy's not running fire prevention. Um, and these airstrikes, again, they reload on a 50-second cooldown with the legendary mod. So if this guy damage cons, You know, if he's damage conning right now, like you see, I stopped gaining damage. That means his DCP has already been used. So by the time these bombs drop, which is going to take about 14 seconds, his damage con is going to be completely ended, and then we get more permafires. And this is what the legendary mod allows you to do that the normal 2 airstrikes doesn't. And on paper, there you go, permafire, 5-6k damage on him. Um, on paper, right, you get a 25-second better reload on the airstrikes, and you can store one more. So in a lot of people's minds, what they're thinking is, well, so I'm going to spam them on cooldown, so every 50 seconds I get an airstrike, and as opposed to like every 68 seconds or whatever it is. I mean, that's nice, but that's not a big deal. But it really is a big deal because the timing of damage con is what is like, it's insanely crucial. Because if you're spamming Golden Lion airstrike on cooldown, think about this: if you hit one and they damage con, and 70 seconds later, with a 14-second drop time, you hit one. Let's say those both give you fires and they insta DCP. They insta DCP at 0 seconds. At about 83 seconds later, they get hit by one. So what is the gap? Well, the DCP has an 80-second cooldown for most ships, and it lasts about 15 seconds unless they build for it. So that means you're only getting the permanent fire effect on these people for 10 to 20 seconds max. And when you have a 20-second faster reload on the airstrike, all of a sudden you hack that timing on their DCPs, and those permafires are up for 40 plus seconds. So it's not 25% better. Now again, we're assuming like efficient usage and fire starting, but you don't think of it as 25% better damage output with the airstrikes, which it is. Also think of it as basically double the permanent fire duration. That is what you're really looking at, and that is like the untold story that I think a lot of people don't factor in when they talk about the GL Ledge mod, is the permanent fire duration if you're spamming on cooldown. And I'm in a situation out here, like there's no reason to store airstrikes on this GK. There's no reason to. And I mean, there's another double fire on him, and if he puts it out, I just send another one. Like, and again, you have to look at the timing. If you think of the timing, I wouldn't have one ready right now, right? I would have to wait another 30 seconds. And there's another one ready in 35 seconds. So we're always ready to punish the damage control usage. And that is why this is like not only just one of the best ledge mods in the game, like just overall power level, I think, but you basically don't give up anything for it. I mean, the idea that this replaces reload or range on the Golden Lion is absolutely fucking hysterically funny to me. Like, this mod should absolutely 100 fucking percent be in the concealment slot, or in the airstrike upgrade slot itself. I think that's slot 4. It should be in one of those two slots, because you should have to give up something you care about. Like, I don't give a fuck about 2 seconds off my main battery reload in the Golden Lion, or 3 kilometers of range. Like, what am I, AFK kite farming in GL? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, you would never take range in this boat unless you're just like griefing your team and you're choosing to play at a range where you will never utilize airstrikes ever. So realistically, like, you're giving up DPM. You're giving up 12% main gun DPM for just like, again, it's not 25% better airstrike DPM. It's 25 better airstrike DPM and double permanent fire duration when you force the DCP. It's fucking disgusting. I mean, at the end of this game, we're gonna see like the kind of damage these airstrikes alone did as a percentage of my damage, and it's just absolutely grotesque. And you know, I don't want to compare it to carrier gameplay, because at least they take some skill to use. Like on a fast ship like this, yeah, people who don't know how to aim them aren't going to hit good drops on them. But I mean, you've seen the like 12k in a double fire. My boat's never in risk. I'm at 0 risk. Like, this is not engaging gameplay, and it just I it's really frustrating that this was where they went with the Golden Lion Ledge mod. There were so many interesting choices I think that they had besides just buffing the airstrikes, and they went with just the most like oppressively toxic version of a legendary mod. Because what we usually have in this game are legendary mods that slightly enhance a aspect of a ship at the cost of another, right? Like accuracy over DPM for ships like Zhao, Moskva, Yamato, um, ships like that. You know, range and DPM for Kaba at the cost of concealment. So like they they force a play style, and then we have some that totally change the play style, right? Like Z52 and Kleber. Um, but and like Elbing also kind of forces the play style, like it encourages open water gunboating more. But with Golden Lion, it's just like there is no universe as to not see this as like basically the super ship version of Golden Lion. And I've said this about Venezia. I mean, not in any videos, but like I consider Legmod Venezia to be the super ship. Like the Piemonte is not shit. It just has bot-proof armor and it's a ship for idiots. But this is like a super ship Golden Lion in my opinion. I mean, it really is. It's unbelievable how this 25% cooldown buff and this, there you go, overmatch. I was talking about the upper bow being only 25. Yeah, it definitely hurts when people know where to shoot you. Like this Jean Bart knew where to shoot me, and he did like what 25k in 2 shots. But I have 173,000 damage. Pretty good game, right? Pretty good game. Ended fast too, so quite a good game. Yeah, how much of that do you think was planes? Yeah, yeah, yeah. This Des Moines, 31,000 damage. I never put my ship in risk of being shot at. This GK, 36,000 damage. Never had a chance to shoot me. Jean Bart, 65,000 damage. Well, what, 90% of that was with airstrikes? Sherman, 13,000. It's it's just gross. It's honestly gross. Like you give up so little to get this legendary mod. I don't know. Wargaming, I thought that Wargaming said they were done. I really thought Wargaming said they were done with pure buff legendary mods. And then they came out with Petro that like honestly, I would say in 90% of games is a pure buff. Um and objectively the correct choice in slot 6. But there are like occasional games, like maybe in clan battles when your goal is mostly tanking. I mean, it's banned this season, but when your goal is mostly tanking, right? Maybe you want that extra heal, maybe. But like 90% of the time, it's a pure buff. Like Elbing, it's a pure buff. The DPM you give up for how much faster you get your guns on target, and that gives you more damage output effectively. Like it's a wash, plus it gives you the speed boost bonus. It's a pure buff. Golden Lion, pure buff. I mean, there's no argument here to be made that this is not a pure buff. There's just zero argument. And you think about all these permanent fires that I got on people, and like how many of them would I not have gotten without this legendary mod? Like again, 25% reload cooldown does not translate. It just doesn't translate. It translates into like 50% more airstrike damage minimum because of the I mean that GK was spamming his DCP on cooldown, but I just always had an airstrike ready for him, right? Like the Des Moines hit, insta DCP'd, probably a mistake, right? So he ate 10k and one fire that he put out. And then the second one, which if I was in a normal Golden Lion would have been the last one, was 10k and a fire. But because I had that third, all of a sudden instead of taking 20k and being on one permafire, he takes 30 and he's on 3. It's just there's like no comparison. Um, there's just it's this is like one of those legendary mods that in my opinion is almost required to play the ship. And they're just like I don't even think you can say that of Khabarovs. Like there's a very strong argument to be made for Kaba that taking double rudder is like in many ways almost better than the ledge mod. Like the ledge mod gives you DPM and like AFK farming range, but I mean there's like a solid argument to be made that if you take rudder on double rudder, double steering on Kaba, that like yeah, you don't have the range, but you're actually probably more survivable overall. Um, and like some of these are like Grozavoy is a buff if you play only for guns, but like the torps on Grozavoy are pretty nice, and nerfing the reload on them actually is kind of a pain in the ass. Des Moines, like you give up DPM for survivability. You just don't give up anything to get this. Like one the amount of DPM your guns put out in this, like the DPM you give up on Golden Lion, like you make up for it with two extra airstrikes, like maximum two extra airstrikes, and you've already made up for any potentially lost DPM. And you just always can punish a damage con usage. It's an oppressive. It's so oppressive. Is it more oppressive than carriers? No, but is it more oppressive than like hybrid boats? I would almost argue yes that it is. I would almost argue yes it is more oppressive than the average hybrid, because you just you can just strike anything, and I mean that's a good map for it too. But like on maps like this, you can't play the game properly as the enemy players. That's kind of what it really comes down to. Like at least the hybrid would have had to go to the side and strike that Des Moines, right? He would have to invest time. Some of his planes would get shot down, and like a good strike from a Kearsarge or a Louisiana, as far as just like the fires and the alpha damage, is kind of comparable to a well-aimed Golden Lion strike. I mean, so it's like you're dealing with a ship that shits out three of these airstrikes in the time one hybrid sends one. And yeah, these are harder to use because you don't have like insta aiming and stuff, but just as far as supplemental damage goes, it's incredibly toxic. I mean, like that Des Moines had no chance. What did he tell me what he did wrong? He damaged con a little too early, okay. But like the second strike would have got a fire and you would have put that out, and then he still would have been on a double perma. Oh, I don't know, man. Let's go back to the port. We can talk about it a little more there. All right, we're in the port. I mean, we can look at the armor. I'm sure most people kind of know, but yeah, this is where that Jean Bart was shooting me. He was shooting me through this, which he overmatches, and then he was getting juicy pens on my, barbette, my upper Warship casemate and shit like that. So you have this 40 here, but like this armor is very troll. I mean, to claim this thing as 40 side is like, as you can see, I mean, this is 30. I actually thought it was 32. I think I said 32 in the video, but it's 30. So like 457s just get crazy juice pens on you here, and the deck is 30. So like any gunfire at range, like your whole ship gets overmatched by 457s. It's extreme suffering. You take 1 minute fires. But yeah, you just get to go AFK on a rocket, drink a beer, and farm in that game. What was it, like 150, 140,000 damage? Um, yeah, like I can't remember. It's 140,000, I think, damage. Yeah, so like you give up DPM. Like this is such a weird like I don't know why you would ever take range on this ship, because you're just making a conscious decision to kite in a ship that takes 60-second fires on medium HP with 4 heals and never use its airstrikes. Super weird. So you're giving up 12% DPM for this, minus 25% reload time, +1. Again, I don't think this remotely translates. Um, but man, I don't know. I don't know where else you would put this slot, but like because none of these matter. I feel like just putting it in concealment would have been the play, or there should be some penalty in addition to the guns on this, because the problem is like there's no choice here. There just isn't a choice to be made. Like I said, I'm a broken fucking record. Like what else do you take? Just minus 2 seconds reload on these dog shit guns? Like no. if you put it in concealment, you would be forced to play at 11.5, and like, not that that's objectively bad concealment or anything, but like, overall speaking, yeah, it's significantly worse because it only gives you a what 1.5 kilometer airstrike buffer. Yeah, you get a 1.5 airstrike buffer instead of a 2.7. I mean, kind of matters a little bit, but I don't know. Wargaming just seems. I feel like they don't understand the like the way. At least I'm not even gonna say good. Just like decent players build their ships, or can build ships. Like you see this with a lot of these other like this Elbing legendary mod. Like I honestly feel like Wargaming thought that people were taking range on the Elbing. I swear to God, man. This is the only thing that makes sense that they put it in slot 6 because the DPM hit is so meaningless compared to your effective DPM actually goes up because instead of like a Minotaur turning flat, you can't turn the guns in time or you can't like kite and swivel and dodge at the same time, you now can. And like the speed boost is like you wouldn't even like dude, you wouldn't even need the speed boost to Elbing. That's how crazy I feel like that ledge mod is of a buff. Like you could take away the speed bonus effect and just like having the lightning fast turret traverse is like already a buff. But and the same thing with Venezia. Like I don't know what they were thinking with the Venezia upgrade. I really don't. I don't even know where my Venezia is, but like I was running double rudder on Venezia for like a year plus, 2 years. Like I always felt like double rudder on Venezia was almost objectively better than concealment. So I was never playing with like I was always playing a lighthouse or a partial lighthouse build on Venezia. Um, Not that that's objectively the correct build. I'm just saying like it's equally correct as like it's equally as good as concealment, if not better, because you're really hard to hit. So like they made you like to me, I had to give up the steering gear slot on Venezia to get like the crazy fuel smoke. So and on Elving, like I run reload like every semi cognitively functioning player runs. Um, so like the only thing I can think is that they thought people were taking range and really missed the because like yeah, if you were used to playing with like 19-kilometer range and had to go play at 16, like yeah, that would suck. But just giving up 2 seconds on the reload, like that's obviously not even a choice. And then with Elbing, like they put it in the reload slot, and I can't help but think that they thought that no one was taking rudder on Venezia, no one was taking reload on Elbing, and no one was taking reload on GL. I don't know what else to fucking think because it just doesn't make sense to me. But um, I mean, this build is pretty standard. You could go you could go Hydro mod here, maybe. I mean, kind of preference, aiming for sure. Turrets are actually very good. I think they have like a 21/7 turret traverse with the build. Concealment and then the ledge mod. And on the captain, it's full AA. I kind of feel like full AA on GL is it's like almost objectively correct. I personally think because like nothing else gives you really any value. Um, and you kind of have to take this because it reloads your airstrikes like 10 seconds faster. It's fucking crazy, and it's improved skill. So like you have to take superintendent because 3 heals base obviously like most cruisers, but the GL burns so much. Like you need heals, you need survivability. Like I feel like you really do need these things. And I mean, the only thing you could maybe argue is you take fire chance. You could take fire chance instead of survivability. I mean, it's an option, I think, but I definitely think you need superintendent, like for sure, for the extra heal. So I mean, you could maybe like swap survivability for demolition. Um, I mean, that would give you like what, maybe north of 40. Yeah, you would get like. I mean, I don't think it. I don't personally think that makes sense, but I mean, I'm not saying that like this 5,000 extra health is 4,000 extra health is like gonna keep you alive. I just don't. The fire chance is super high anyway. It's whatever. But yeah, you could do that. And then I take the 4.8 skill because if your AA is unironically good in the GL, unironically very good AA, and this buffs it more, but also because fires fuck you so insanely hard. Man, getting that DCP back is like a fucking game changer. Because if a carrier wants to hump you, obviously, like especially shit like Nakimov and all this stuff, like it's Essex. I mean, it's gonna drop you for 10k in a fire. Fires fuck you, so you're incentivized to DCP them, and this just kind of lets you DCP more fires. I think in carrier games. Um, and again, the AA is like actually incredibly good. Like with DFAA up, you can like legitimately just shred squadrons sometimes. Um, but yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this is like this this and Elbing are two of the newer ones that are like required to play the boat. Like I just wouldn't even recommend that people grind the Golden Lion if they don't have research points for this. I mean, seriously, it's like I've tried going back just for shits and giggles, going back to playing like Reload, and it's just like it's unbelievable. I mean, I guess my comparison would be like imagine if you were playing Schlieffen, right, with a normal full secondary spec with IFHE, and then you went like a hybrid build with like no secondary range, no manual secondaries, and accuracy on the guns in a Schlieffen, and you would feel like, wow, that thing that I had built into my boat that got me like 50k minimum per game for free, no skill required, I just decided to throw that away, and that's what I feel like playing Golden Lion. Um, if that makes sense, like having this is like a Schlieffen built for secondaries, and not having it would be like a Schlieffen built for main guns. It would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Why play the boat? Like any other boat's better. This boat isn't even bad. Like without this, it's just that I mean, this legitimately changes Golden Lion from like a somewhat toxic, decent tier 10 to just like incredibly strong, incredibly toxic, and broken as fuck. Um, I hate that they did this. I'm just rambling. But I hate that this was the mod. I wish to God when they said Golden Lion's Ledge mod was coming out, I hope to God that it was going to be a playstyle alteration mod. Um, whether that like I was hoping like maybe we would get like instead of concealment you could get like minus 40% fires and flood like a like a super buffed Monty or like a Hindenburg style mod because it would address like a fundamental weakness of this boat. But then you would obviously give up concealment, or you could put it in slot 6 or like one of these two slots. Could put it in slot 4, so you gave up like 20% airstrike DPM, or you could put it in slot 5, so you gave up concealment. But I was really hoping we would see either a tanking or a main gun skill. But no, no, they were like, just let the airstrikes reload faster. These people who take range will have to get closer. Like, I don't even know, man. Yeah, I think like my biggest endorsement is like when my probably first maybe 80 100 games in Golden Lion, um I had like maybe low mid like maybe 53 to 55 win rate at the very best. It was like very average ship for me, very okay. um and like post ledge mod it's probably at high 60s 70%, like so my account win rate on it has gone up like a full 8% by doubling my games. So yeah, I mean like it's legitimately just that powerful. It's crazy 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 how I was basically just like drinking beer AFK half of that game and just farming like obscene amounts of damage that people can't do anything about, and you just like you just like slam one idiot, slam another idiot. You just keep going. They DCP. You always have one. Like even if you have none in the tank and you just saw a guy DCP, like I said, say 20 seconds later he's free to get a fire and you've got one ready. So 30 seconds into his DCP reload, you smash a double fire on him. Whereas the old airstrike, you wouldn't smash that until like say 60 seconds in, and then he just has to let it suffer for 20 seconds. So yeah, it's just re- basically required to play the ship. If you don't have Golden Lion, just honestly don't get it until you have research points for this. What is it, 20,000? It's one double set on Haru. Like, this is one of those boats. There's a few others. They're all new. Surprise, surprise. Like, I wouldn't grind Elbing unless you can buy the Ledge mod. I wouldn't grind GL unless you can buy it. Uh, yeah, kind of sad. We kind of sad. We could have had like a tanking or a or a main gun focused Golden Lion. But Wargaming decided to just double down on cancer. Anyway, thanks for watching.